We all have to vote. I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that she's the killer. I've proven it beyond a reasonable doubt. Why is that when I hear her cry, I get this strange nagging feeling in my chest? Why does a tiny part of me want to believe the things she's saying? Why all of a sudden do I doubt myself?
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room.
Lying in wait?
There, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
But I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi, then you obviously did.
Let me take a look. Let me take a look. 8:15. Right? Nope, that's plenty of time to get there. Cause what? Ava said she left, was it 8:05 or 8:10 when she left the room? I think she said it was 8:05 and then she got to the dining room at 8:10. I know, and between then and whenever he was killed, there's still plenty of time.
I wanted to believe so badly that you were innocent. Why didn't I see you for who you were?
If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick.
What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
No. This is actually kind of hard. Hold on. That's supposed to be when I already know the truth. Can't be possible. Not unless...
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang into the boiler room.
Claus Baird?
Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
No.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
Brute force it? Absolutely. I will. I'm thinking it has to be one of the back routes. I mean, it's one of the purple techs. The game punishes you for brute forcing that much. I don't think it will. But I don't got a whole lot of life left. Oh, never mind. Game over, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream. It has been so fun. See you guys tomorrow. What do I do? Look at the controls. Fine, I'll look at the controls. Jesus. If it lets me, press space and hold E to
What are we
one
waiting
thing.
for then? Let's get this
Alright,
over
I'll try
with
that.
and vote.
Okay, I'll try it. But which one do I do it? Which one do I try it on? The pink one. Oh yeah, thank you so much. Ugh! I'm cooked.
Diana was the one who lured.
Hold on. Wait, no, the time. Wait. Yo.
Learn the truth.
Oh my god. No! I can't go out like this! My streak! Everyone's gonna make fun of me! No! I can't be the ultimate gamer if I can't get past this! But you know what they say? Third time is the charm. Alright, watch this. Third time's the charm. Ultimate gamer. That's what I am. Alright. Lock in. Hoorah! Let's go. We don't get the
Diana
third
was
in a
the
row.
one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once
what?
he got there, she killed him immediately.
No.
Then she fled the crime scene.
Oh,
hoping
it's
the rest
selecting
of
it.
us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
So what do I use this on?
I would never murder Wolfgang.
This one? Let's go! Ah! Gamer moment. I refuse
We know that
to
Diana
back
got
down.
stabbed during her confrontation with Wolfgang.
I refuse to take any slander.
That doesn't prove she's the culprit.
I refuse to let this game get the better of me.
He's lost his mind.
The stab wounds prove that Diana was in the same room as Wolfgang before his death. She's the killer.
Just because you're in the same room doesn't mean you were the one who tooted, okay? You smelt it, doesn't mean that you dealt it.
I
I don't know what I'm saying.
I'm not the killer.
water.
Yeah, everyone, go get yourself a burrito. If you don't like burritos, get a taco. If you don't like tacos, I don't know what to tell you then. Grab something. You know what? Everyone go grab a drink of water. I know at least one of you. Out of the 128 people watching, at least 1 to 10 of you have not been drinking water. Don't get coffee, don't get tea, don't get juice, don't get milk. Water. No soda either. No caffeine. Water.
How are you going to say all this dramatic stuff about Diana being the killer, and then say the opposite 5 minutes later?
You know, it's going to be so funny when I make the ultimate decision to take all these Project Eden garden streams. I don't know if I'll do it right now. I might. I don't know. But it's going to be funny when I take all these streams and edit them to post in video form. It would be so funny. Because it's going to be a pain. When I think back on everything she's done, just because they have different opinions doesn't mean they're bad people. They clearly want the same thing as the rest of us, right? They want to go home. So I think it's okay to give them a chance. Yeah, that's right. We can make it through this. I wish I could speak as well as you. I realize everyone's been acting tense around you and Eva, so I wanted to say hi and check that you're okay. Well, in any case, if you ever need someone to talk to, come find me. Diana was always thinking of me when no one else was. She knew how frustrated I felt about everything. About Akira. Of course, she tried to play it off as some kind of casual interaction between friends, but she tried to help me without making it seem like I was someone who needed help. Could someone like her really have what it takes to commit a murder? It doesn't make sense. Thinking Diana could kill another person, it doesn't make any logical sense.
Whatever. Who cares what this guy says? We finally know the killer. Let's cast our votes already.
No.
I guess if that's what everyone else is doing.
Hold it!
Remember, if you don't vote,
Where's
you
Phoenix
die.
Wright?
So none of you
Objection!
Are you listening, Tozu? I need to ask a question.
But Tozo's behind you. Just turn around.
Dude, what are you...
Hello, hello, it is I, Tozu, answerer of questions. You ask a question, I give an answer. Tis common sense it is.
Answerer of questions. I thought you were a host.
I'm a host with an ascendant in question answering. A jack of all trades, if you will.
Anyway, Tozu, according to the regulations, everyone has to vote when a trial is over. My question is, when exactly can a trial be considered over?
Are we talking in a literal or philosophical sense?
I mean, does the trial end and the voting begin once we think we've solved the mystery? Or does the vote automatically start after a certain amount of time?
I see. All right, I'll humor your question. If you ask nicely.
What?
Go on, ask the question again.
Well, are you still gonna do it?
Oh my god.
Tozu, can I please know the factors that decide whether a trial can be considered over?
Well, since you're so polite, I'd be a fool not to tell you.
Tozu, such a clown. I love Tozu.
The class trial will only end once I become bored with it.
You're joking.
What? Why'd you say this sooner?
Hear me out. Tozu. You know what?
Come now, it's not
No.
like I wouldn't announce a warning in advance.
No.
Tick tock, that's
You
the
know-
sound of my internal clock losing patience. Let's start wrapping things up, shall we? I think we're long overdue for a vote. See? Smart, snappy, and to the point.
Sounds terrible.
What if you're still not bored, even when we think we've solved the case?
If that happened and all of you agreed to vote, what reason is there for me to say no?
So in that case, everyone must unanimously agree to vote before
Okay.
voting can be held.
Yeah,
Tofu.
maybe.
Tofu? Take it or leave it? Leave it. I don't like tofu.
Then, since you haven't made any kind of warning, I take it you're not bored with the trial yet.
Not yet.
In that case, I don't agree to vote.
What? No way! Are you seriously pushing back the vote?
Not until I know who the real killer is.
It's
Mhm.
obviously Diana. She's the only one without an alibi for the murder.
Mhm.
Diana may not have an alibi, but even so, saying she's a murderer contradicts everything we know about her.
Since when?
Diana looked up to Wolfgang, and Wolfgang cared about her. But from the moment suspicion fell on Diana, she's been nothing but a nervous wreck. Does that really sound like someone with the emotional capacity to murder?
What's to say she's not faking it?
Still thinking it's
Even if
Winona,
she
bro.
was, it'd be rash to commence a vote without hearing both sides of the story first.
You do make a good point.
We are not in a rush. I say we hear Diana out.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable voting yet until Diana shares her testimony.
Sure thing. I'm up for listening.
But
Diana, I promise to keep an open mind if you tell me what happened. Even if it's stressful to relive, until we have conclusive evidence to say otherwise. I'll hear you out.
You'll hear her out, huh? Interesting.
I'm...
Mhm. Oh shit.
I wanted to help. I wanted to make everything okay. But all I could do was be useless. All I could do was watch him die.
Excuse me?
It's all my fault. All my fault. For doing the wrong thing.
So is this a confession, or?
No!
Huh?
I didn't kill Wolfgang. And I don't know who did. But I still failed him as a friend. I failed him then. And I failed him here. But if I told the truth, things would be worse than they already are.
Watched him die.
It's okay, sweetheart. Come on now, take deep breaths.
Yeah, we'll believe you no matter what you say.
The switch up is insane. Fake friends, I swear. Know who the real ones are. Desmond would never. It's looking like that, but the nagging feeling in my chest still hasn't gone away. Damn it, what am I doing? Because of one girl, I've been downing myself and jumping from one argument to another. If I can't piece together my own thoughts, how can I possibly piece together this case? I need to get a grip on myself. I need to keep sight of myself and the goal of this killer. Whatever is thrown at me next, I need to preserve. Because if I don't, if everyone else here votes wrong, I won't leave this place alive.
Where do I even start, though?
Hold on. I can't run the risk that this game crashes on me. I don't think that it will. But I have that bad habit, you know?
How about you begin by explaining why you went to the boiler room? A note?
A note.
2 days ago, someone slid one into my room.
Interesting.
I never got to see who. I just heard a knock. And when I walked over, there was a note under my door.
Who do we know that likes to knock on doors? Cassidy. And you know who else does? Ingrid.
I don't remember any of this. Sorry.
But it can't be Cassidy, because Cassidy
It was
would never.
midday-ish, and you weren't there at the time. And I didn't show you the note later because... Well, I'll just read you what it said.
Diana, as you are aware, it is our obligation to speak with those who blackmail... with those whose blackmail we have obtained. After receiving your blackmail and reading the information disclosed in it, I believe a meeting between the two of us is warranted. In 2 days' time, please come to the underground boiler room at 8:45 a.m. Make sure to arrive promptly and close the door behind you. To avoid discourse, do not show anyone this letter. Do not approach me about it either, even in private. There is always the chance someone can hear. Wolfgang. Huh.
Wolfie wrote this?
Wolfgang had Diana's blackmail? But didn't he have Jean's?
Hold on a sec. If you take a closer look, the handwriting on that note, doesn't it resemble the handwriting on Wolfgang's note?
You're
he's onto
actually right.
something.
Even though Wolfgang's note has been water damaged, the words I can make out were in the same messy scroll as Diana's here.
Then someone else was posing as Wolfgang?
The killer, most likely. They must have thought his word was the only one Diana would follow.
Guess it worked, huh?
So they told
I didn't
him
want to show this note earlier
to meet
because
at
I was scared of how people would try to twist it.
8:15. Her at 8:45. Interesting.
Like saying I faked the note, or that I decided to kill because of it.
I could
I
technically
thought it would
find
be
the
better
killer
to
based on the
just stay
handwriting.
quiet.
If they show it again, I'll look into it. But
I
it looked
know
like
you guys
cursive
think I'm
off of the
stupid for agreeing to meet in a place like the boiler room.
the water
And
damaged note, and so what I
I am.
boiled it down to was Winona.
I just didn't want to disappoint Wolfgang in case he really did write the note, which was why I left my room around 8:40 a.m. and went downstairs.
Blackmailing is not like a good thing anyone should do. I don't know why people
Did you
resort
catch
to
any
that.
strange movement down
It's
there?
actually so scummy.
No, it was just me. I did find the boiler room door hanging open a little bit, but I didn't think much of it. I just went inside and closed the door behind me, since that's what the note asked me to do.
What did you see inside the boiler room?
The boiler room was really dark, so the first thing I noticed was actually the security camera light. My eyes had to take a few seconds to adjust to everything else. But after that, I finally saw him. Wolfgang was lying in the water, making these weird noises. It didn't seem like he'd even noticed me entering the room. Not until... Wolfgang? Hearing his name seemed to snap him out of his trance, because he slowly rose to his feet. Wolfgang, are you okay?
It's you.
Huh?
I can't believe it. I really am finally meeting you.
What do you mean?
Please, forgive me. Please forgive me for what I've become.
Wolfgang?
Despite how hard I tried, how much I wanted it to be true, I could never become you. I will always be a failure.
He's talking about his dad.
It's okay, Wolfgang. Look! There's stairs over here.
His
Come
eyes
over
are
here
red.
and
Could
we
be
can
from
get out.
crying.
I have no idea if he didn't hear me, or if he was just ignoring me. But, okay. I'll get closer to you then. I went over to the ledge of the platform, the part where the fence had a gap. Just take my hand, okay? And I'll pull you out. He slowly stumbled over, and he held my hand. I didn't really think I could pull him out. I just wanted to be there for him. It was the best I could do, because I didn't want to enter the water. Staying on the platform felt so much safer. And I really, really hate that it did. It's okay, Wolfgang. We'll get through this together, alright? I was looking at him when I
don't know
said
what to
that.
say.
I was looking right at him. But somehow... Somehow I didn't think to react. When he reached inside his blazer.
back.
Mm.
Bring her.
Yeah, he's hallucinating. He on something. I ain't finna lie.
I tried to leave the room, but the door was locked. I didn't know what to do. I started looking around for things to defend myself with, and that's when I saw the gun.
The taser gun? Did you use it?
I took the taser, and I aimed it at Wolfgang, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't shoot him. I just backed away from him. I couldn't understand anything. Why was this happening to me? Why was I being attacked? Why can't I do anything to...
I'm not like you. I'll never be like you. I won't give up until the world knows. I won't give up until everyone knows me as...
All of a sudden, everything turned white. Everything in front of me. Except Wolfgang. In those few seconds, he became pitch black. And then, so did everything else. Even though I didn't see Wolfgang fall over, I heard it. His body cracking against the pavement, and his knife falling into the water. I waited for the gasp of pain, for him to groan or mumble or say something, but there was nothing. There was just me and the silence.
Yo, this is sad.
That's how it happened.
What the fuck?
That man attacked you?
Oh my goodness, Diana, I'm at a loss for words.
This is getting too much for me, bros. I think I'm gonna faint.
Hey, me and you both.
Holy shit. So Diana really did watch Wolfgang die.
But why was he so violent towards her? It's like he became an entirely different person.
Why would Wolfgang say those words in a particular moment?
How'd you manage to escape the boiler room after all that?
By picking the door's lock.
For reals?
I wasn't even thinking. I just started feeling my way back to the door in the dark. And then, well, my supply bag. I remembered the spare hairpins I always kept inside. So I felt around the bag and dug one out. To be honest, I have no idea how I managed to unlock the door. The whole thing was repeated trial and error. Just minutes of me telling myself that somehow this next attempt will finally work.
Whoa! Actually unlocking the doors. That's like hitting a bullseye blindfolded.
The lock is normally on the inside too. The killer purposely flipped it, then left the door open so you would be the one to close it. As for why the killer locked the door to begin with...
It was to frame Diana, right?
Right. The killer made Diana trap herself inside the boiler room, so they could kill Wolfgang in front of her, and force her to remain by his body. Had their plan worked, Diana would only be able to escape if someone from outside entered the boiler room.
Man, they really framing her. That's
By
crazy.
which point, that someone would be stumbling across what looks like a cut-and-dry murder case.
If the tournament folk found Diana, they would have been playing right into the killer's hands.
Speaking of which, Diana, I'm curious to know, did you unlock the door before or after the tournament attendees arrived downstairs?
It sort of happened at the same time. Like, when I opened the door, there were already people walking down the stairs. Obviously, I couldn't stay inside the boiler room. If anyone saw me close to Wolfgang's body, it would look really bad. The hallway was a bit easier to make out in the dark. So I walked over to a wall bordering one of the storage closets and hid behind it. And stayed as quiet as possible. I was still bleeding a little from Wolfgang's cut, though. And some of that blood ended up dripping onto the floor around me.
Hence the blood on the underground floor! It's all coming together!
This was shortly before.
Yo,
us
this
turning
story's
split up.
insane.
And you made a run for it, yeah?
Down the hallway, up the stairs, and then as quietly as possible into my room. Since everything was still really dark, I had to patch myself using the Tozu Trinket's projection as my light. I realize this is a lot, and I know it's hard to believe without proof. So, if you guys could just give me a second.
Reaching into her makeup bag, Diana pulled out a wipe and began scrubbing her arm.
I cleared up the blood pretty fast. Luckily for me, the cut wasn't that deep. There's still a chance it may leave a scar, though.
Holy crap!
That's awful! It's okay. I'll cover it back up again.
Why did Wolfgang attack you for no reason?
I wouldn't say it was for no reason.
You're being kind of insensitive, man.
Huh? I didn't mean it like that. What I'm trying to say is, Wolfgang's actions may look random from an outsider's perspective, but from his perspective, well, judging by his behavior, it seems like he saw something which shook him to his core.
Like, there was something in the room that Diana didn't see?
That's impossible! It was only me and Wolfgang in the boiler room!
I don't believe Jean meant it in a literal sense.
Wolfgang literally saw something?
I love Jet, bro.
He thought he saw something, is my point.
You mean he had been hallucinating?
What did Wolfgang hallucinate for him to turn out the way Diana described?
You'd be surprised by the sort of things our minds can invent. I'm lucky to have never experienced anything myself, but I know some who have hallucinated nasty things. Demons and monsters, or the feeling of being tortured. If Wolfgang went through something similar, I can see why he lashed out.
Now what the heck is going on at sea?
Of course, these hallucinations don't just happen out of the blue. More often than not, they're substance-induced.
Substance-induced?
Just say Wolfgang took a hallucinogenic.
Hallucinogenics?
One which induced a lot of fatigue, too, judging by the way he lumbered about in Diana's account.
It would explain why Wolfgang mostly stayed in one place.
One place, which happened to be in the water.
Seems very deliberate. Aye. I reckon the killer knocked Wolfgang unconscious in order to drag him into the water, but knew he would eventually wake up again. So they drugged him with something which would basically make him despondent. As for where the drug came from...
Oh no! Don't tell me the killer robbed...
I knew exploring it was a bad idea.
It? What's this it we're talking about?
The pharmacy, obviously. Why the heck did we think leaving that place open was a good idea? Now someone's stolen an item and drugged Wolfgang. Fuck! I knew our promise was too good to be true! I can't trust any of you guys! And don't say Wolfgang drugged himself! Who wants to be tortured by demons?
Well, stranger people do exist.
That's rich coming from you!
Alright. Tablet, thin piece of metal, Wolfgang's neck. Yeah, that's it for
I bet the killer took a pill and forced Wolfgang to swallow it.
It would have been that one.
Just jab him at that point.
How would the killer make him swallow a pill? There was no proof they restrained him.
Wolfie out. Maybe that was their way of restraining him.
You can't force an unconscious person to swallow a pill.
What what if it was a drug you don't need to eat?
Yeah.
Like an inhalable substance?
Oh yeah, like a powder or something.
The pharmacy does have a large collection of over-the-counter sedatives, but there's too many for us to isolate any specific one.
How did the killer drug? Out of all the ideas being thrown around, only one has any of them.
I bet the killer.
Damn.
Now hold on. Diana came to the boiler room roughly half. A pill ain't gonna be fully digested.
Give me one more try. One more try. One more try. One more try. Give me one more. One more. One more. Hold on.
I bet
One
the
more.
killer took
An inhalable
Substance.
Damn. Okay.
If Wolfgang inhaled something, there should have been traces of it in his nose.
Common streamer gamer mistake? Never. I am a perfect gamer. The ultimate gamer, if you will. I don't make mistakes. These are all flukes. You're just simply imagining. This one. Let's fucking go. Agree with Mark. Oh shit. My bad.
When Wolfgang's wounds were discussed earlier, it was mentioned he had a
See,
tiny
you gotta
death
trust
below
the
bruise on his neck.
impulsive. What? You gotta trust the impulsive instincts. What do you mean, Chiaki? Okay, listen. You just don't know. It's okay. It's okay. Not everyone knows the lore. You will soon come to understand that I am the perfect gamer.
If Wolfgang got drugged a little after 8:15 a.m. and was already feeling the effects when Diana arrived at 8:45 a.m., then we're dealing with something which entered his bloodstream in under 30 minutes. Any normal pill would have taken, probably an hour to dissolve.
Whilst an injection would be much quicker.
Someone's
see.
been mad quiet this
That's
investigation.
probably another reason why the killer knocked Wolfgang unconscious. It would have been incredibly difficult to inject him if he was still moving around. Only when they had him right where they wanted, dazed and unable to fight back, did they plunge the syringe into his neck.
With said syringe being filled with a hallucinogenic.
But if this all happened a few minutes after 8:15 a.m., doesn't that make it impossible to pin a suspect?
What? Why is it impossible?
Because everybody's got an alibi for that time. I mean, Damon and I were in my dorm room, and the other party people...
8:15 a.m. Yeah, I was already in the dining hall with Jet, Mark, and Evo.
I left Wolfgang's dorm right after the morning announcement and spent the rest of the hour with Jean.
When Nona and I were in our dorm room together.
And me and Eloise were already sitting down in the courtyard.
Toshiko was giving me the medication she grabbed from the pharmacy.
And, I stayed in my dorm room until 8:40 a.m.
Oh no. If everyone can be accounted for, we really can't discern a suspect.
What are we overlooking? It was ruled out as having no relation to the murder because the wires don't touch the water. But the position of it, the fact it's destroyed, the timing of the blackout. One coincidence is easy to wave off, but when it's coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, then there's something more going on. There's something more to that generator.
If everyone has an alibi for 8:15 a.m., is it possible the killer never actually attacked Wolfie at that time? But his little note said to come by at 8:15 a.m., didn't it?
Ingrid, do you remember what you said when we couldn't figure out who stole Desmond's taser?
To be honest, I'm drawing a blank.
You suggested we switch subjects and discuss Wolfgang's injuries instead, which we did. As a result, we ended up unraveling more about the case than if we had stuck to the original topic. Right now, we're at a dead end. If we can't get any more leads out of this current discussion, then that's a sign to switch our focus.
True. He's spitting.
I want to take another look at Diana's testimony.
Mine?
Back when you were describing Wolfgang's death, something stuck out to me.
I won't give up until everyone knows me.
The flash of white Diana described must have been the generator exploding, with the darkness afterwards being the blackout. Think about the order of events there. In just a few seconds, the boiler room's generator explodes, and Wolfgang falls over dead. Doesn't it sound like the two are correlated?
Oi, didn't we go over this already? We did. The generator has nothing to do with Wolfgang's death. Its wires weren't touching the water.
Indeed. Which is why the murder weapon is the taser gun.
No, because it was never.
Diana said she never used the taser, though.
Yeah.
She's lying!
What? That's not true! I never fired the gun!
It's all good. I believe you. Sure, nobody can dispute the gun was fired. What can be disputed, though, is when it got fired. I wouldn't be surprised if the killer fired that gun way in advance. Like, sometime before Wolfgang arrived downstairs and left it in the boiler room for us to find later.
What? So the taser gun isn't the murder weapon?
If Wolfgang wasn't killed with the taser gun or the generator, what other options are we left with?
The taser gun is the only option which makes sense. The murder weapon can't be anything else.
Or, you know, he succumbed to the drug. Third source of electricity.
And anyway, the only proof Diana never shot the taser is her own word.
Ava! What do you mean?
All the evidence supporting your version of events is circumstantial. The note you showed us? That could be a fake alibi you made for yourself. The fact that it has the same handwriting as Wolfgang's is already suspicious.
Doesn't that just mean the same person tricked them?
If you earnestly believe Diana didn't write it, then maybe.
Alright, talk your shit, talk your
But
shit,
you
hold
see
on.
what I'm saying? There's no proof Diana never wrote the notes. There's only her word to go by. Because if she did write them, everything about her entering the boiler room at 8:45 a.m. and being locked inside could be a total lie.
I get what you're saying. But if we run with the idea that Diana was the one waiting for Wolfgang all the way back at 8:15 a.m., then we're stuck with the issue we had last time. Why did Diana wait over an hour to kill him?
That's also circumstantial. None of us know what really went on between those two in an hour. Ruling someone out because they took a long time to murder is stupid.
Without context? Sure, I'd say the same. But since the boiler room is unlocked, anyone can enter. If Diana knocked Wolfgang out, then she took over an hour to kill him with that info in mind.
Okay, but who would enter? No one wants to make a detour down some gross, freaky-looking basement. The boiler room is probably the most covert place a person can be.
The most covert. The words do make sense. After all, I chose to meet Tozu in the boiler room for that very same
Diana
reason.
claims she didn't write the notes, and she claims she didn't shoot the gun.
The answer lies in what destroyed the generator.
What?
Didn't we already talk about that?
All you guys did was discuss theories, never anything concrete. Settling for a theory isn't good enough when our lives are on the line. In the same way Ava can't rule out Diana's involvement in the case, we can't rule out the generators.
So, we have to figure out what destroyed the generator? What should we do? Just throw out ideas?
It's what we've been doing this whole time.
Oakley dokley.
Oakley dokley.
Alright, everyone, let's put our thinking hats on. If we work together, we'll unravel this mystery for sure.
Yo, if Cassidy doesn't make it to endgame,
Ready? On your marks, get set, go!
if Cassidy doesn't make it to endgame, I'm throwing hands. It's gonna be the shrapnel for sure.
Why did the generator blow up?
Could have just been an electrical fault.
No, it might be that
A
one.
coincidence?
Is this the best situation? To be waiting stuff off is a coincidence? Did the killer throw something at the generator?
No.
Made it explode?
Perhaps it's the fault of the taser gun? The electrical discharge it released might have connected with the generator and created an overabundance of energy, which caused everything in the circuit to pop.
Probably. There's no proof anything besides the
Ooh, my god. Let's go. Let's go. First try, Ultimate Gamer in the making.
Unfortunately, Ava, I have to disagree. You say nothing, but the taser could have been involved in the murder.
It's your boy Trendy
There's one
Gamer playing all the
possibility you
trendy
didn't consider.
games.
The
Alright.
shrapnel in the water.
You mean those bits of
I
red
am
metal
getting
which were
better.
floating around?
You know why? Because I'm just the best. It's funny that so many people are gonna think I'm serious.
The ones that look like the aftermath of an explosion. Due to their proximity to the generator, it's safe to
Full
assume the two
potential.
are connected.
Nah. See, really, I've just been using like 0.0000005%, but you know, I had to boost it to that 0.00006%, you know? I had to lock in a little bit. And floating near it was another out-of-place item. Wait, what? What was floating near the shrapnel? The extension cord.
This is it.
People has been taking 10 hours on the trial?
Cord, half of which had been burnt away.
You're lying. Right, the red shrapnel. It definitely isn't debris left by the generator, so what is it? So far, nothing in the... It's a bomb. It's a bomb. They put a pipe bomb. At least not anything with clues that already have been discussed in this trial. If I were to flip my thinking and consider the clues we haven't discussed yet, there's no proof what I have in mind is related to shrapnel, but when all other options are ruled out, I can only turn towards the one that hasn't. The one thing that might be related to... excuse me. The odd smell? Question mark?
This is it.
Oh my gosh.
Hold that thought. We may
You're
be
further
able
in
to
than I thought.
identify the shrapnel
Right.
using context
70%, I think?
clues.
Oh my gosh. And I've only been streaming for 7 hours today.
The best way to describe the scent would be if you mix cereal and alcohol together. I know it sounds like a stretch, but if you follow this line of
Drink some
reasoning,
water.
a lot more questions start getting answered. Think about it. If the smell and shrapnel are linked, then whatever
Whatever
object the
shrapnel
shrapnel belongs
must
to
contain chemicals.
must contain chemicals.
So we're looking for a metal object, which is also packed with chemicals?
Chemicals. Chemicals. Yo. No. Say it ain't so.
Surely something like that would be kept inside the pharmacy.
Ain't no way.
Looking at my notes, when we originally visited the pharmacy, I recorded everything I saw. A bright red metal object would have definitely caught my eye, but I don't see one written here.
Yo.
I got lots of metallic objects in my dorm room, but nothing chemical. Just big old slabs of metal.
Big slabs of metal. That's right. What Ingrid said just now, similar to what she said the night everyone's been bunking together. It's littered with all sorts of fancy tools and metals. At the time, people were talking about their dorm rooms being themed around their talents. Could it be? The shrapnel actually be the remnants of a unique device that guy boasted about having in his room? The only way to know for sure is to put you on the spot. Device? Like, my goat Jet? What did I figure out? Don't worry about it. I'm holding on to my suspicions.
Can you tell me what's inside your dorm room?
Like, a full-on list?
Whatever works.
Sure thing. I got a pretty gnarly collection of parts and accessories. Blind spot mirrors, lithium batteries, wheels...
Lithium
spare
batteries?
brakes, you name it. Oh! I even have the legendary mantle from the 1984's Grand Prix winning Speedster.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
Cool. So, why'd you want to know? Unless... Wait, I'm not being suspected, am I? No. Don't try to rope me into this, bro. I've got nothing to do with the murder.
I know you don't. You have an alibi. The only reason I ask is because that mysterious red shrapnel may be the remnants of one of your lithium batteries.
What?
I see. A lithium battery might explain the smell in the air.
Yeah, somebody robbed Jet. Who? I don't know who would rob. But you know what? Let me put you on game real quick. Alright. After using my brain meat, right? After putting 2 and 2 together, cliffhanger.
And lithium, that's an explosive substance. If it made contact with water, gosh, you'd be left with a mess and a half.
Wouldn't someone have heard an explosion, though?
I did.
Really?
During the tournament. Right before we lost power.
Oi, that's right. There was a boom.
Wait! I remember hearing it too!
I initially assumed the generator made the noise somehow. But if Jet's car batteries contain an explosive substance...
Hey, Jet, were your batteries bright red at all?
Maybe?
You don't know for sure?
I never took the batteries out of their packaging. The packaging isn't red, I can tell you that, but the actual batteries? Yeah, I got nothing.
So it can't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Pretty much.
Well, what's the reaction time of a lithium battery?
The reaction time?
When a lithium battery hits the water, how long does it take to combust? I think, once we know that, we can decide whether or not the battery is relevant to the case.
A lithium battery would be an almost instantaneous reaction, I'm pretty sure.
Lithium isn't a metal I've worked with, but it got beat into my head never to mix it with substances it doesn't like. All that electricity, the battery would have let out when it hit the water. It must have went straight into poor Wolfie.
There's warning labels on the battery for a reason.
Okay, if the reaction is instantaneous, then the battery would have entered the water only seconds before the generator exploded. That's really weird.
Is it?
According to Diana's testimony, when the explosion happened, she was still holding the taser gun. In which case, who threw the battery into the water?
Huh. Good point. We can rule out Wolfgang, since the Blackens can only be a student who kills another student. And Diana.
It was only
That
Diana
is true.
and Wolfgang in the boiler room.
John and
So unless
Ingrid
Diana
are more.
herself was the one who threw the battery,
They're pretty smart, especially John. I'm glad they didn't go the stereotypical "I'm pirate, I am dumb,"
then the battery can't play a part in the murder.
and I hope that they don't lean into like the, I guess the naive country bumpkin kind of thing for Ingrid. It doesn't seem like they are. Ingrid seems knowledgeable in areas, but there have been some instances where she seems a little, you know, a little like a dum-dum. Just a little. The shrapnel and generator are too close for comfort. They must have been correlated. I'll admit that Diana throwing the battery is a possibility, but that's all it is, a possibility. There may still be another way for the battery to enter the water, and until that will at all. Alright. Hold on. Lock in. Taser extension cord. Yeah, it's gotta be the cord. For sure.
If the battery is related to the case, only Diana could have thrown it in the water.
But my arm had been cut. Lifting a battery would hurt too much.
Neo batteries
You
are
have another
pretty
arm.
lightweight, though.
The battery clearly couldn't have fallen from somewhere, so it must have been submerged another way. Perhaps something akin to what Eva described?
If that battery is the murder weapon, why is there a taser gun?
Maybe it's a red herring.
Judging by the shrapnel, the battery would have landed in the water a few inches.
Not the hardest shot to make.
Quick to say the battery was thrown, but when I consider the boiler room in which I was, Dang it. I had a feeling I had a feeling it wasn't that one. Hold on.
Judging by the
We're
shrapnel,
gonna just
the
blow the
battery would
award.
have landed in
That's
the
what we're going
water
for.
A few inches from generator.
Oh, it's not that one. It's
Not the
not.
hardest shot to make.
Only Eva. I feel like it has to be that one.
These are pretty lightweight, though.
Alright, I'm gonna do it on the next one.
The
Trust.
battery clearly couldn't have fallen from.
Ah! Oh shit.
No, that's wrong.
No. The battery
Could you
might
clutch,
actually have
gamer?
fallen from the generator.
Maybe. If you're gonna help, don't give it away. Just say the bullet or something, let him play. I mean, I'm not really looking at chat often anyway. Like, whenever it comes to, like, games like this, like, detective type games, puzzle games, I don't really like to look, like, no offense. It's not that I don't want to interact with anybody. It's just whenever it comes to that, I like to try and figure things out myself, you know? So, I you know, if I need the help, I'll look over and say something. But otherwise, I'm not really looking at it. So, I mean, people can say whatever they want. If you die, you have to restart from your last save. Huh?
Platform.
I ain't finna lie. This trial going on way too long, though.
With her wounded arm, which would obviously put her in danger of being attacked by Wolfgang again.
Yeah. Wolfgang was really close. He could reach over to me if he wanted.
If the battery hadn't been thrown, the only other possibility is that it fell down into the water.
Yo, what? I just realized they were trying to get a double kill and failed.
And considering the layout of the boiler room, what else could the battery fall off of? Except the generator.
Are you saying the battery was sitting on top of the generator?
Not on top, but maybe. This makes my brain itch in a good way. Just the way it looks. It's gonna be this one. What if I wait until the last possible second? If battery was suspended by something, then the presence of that item starts to make a lot more sense. Yeah.
This is it.
It may sound stupid for this, but what the fuck is the difference between leaning and teetering over the generator? Teetering means it's actively rocking back and forth, while leaning means it's propped up. Yeah. I feel like if it was teetering, then it definitely would have been noticed for sure.
What if that's the point? Maybe the killer chose a crazy method because no one would believe it.
I don't see how weaving a cord into the mix is any more beneficial than leaving it out. If anything, the cord adds extra weight.
Which would be especially inconvenient for Diana, because her arm is bleeding.
Right. It wouldn't benefit Diana to hold the cord. So, what if she didn't? Something else may have been supporting the cord instead.
Supporting the cord. A third person was holding the cord. Wasn't involved. A third person was holding it. This
Yeah,
no doubt.
like Diana.
It wasn't me! I promise!
Oh, my bad. Objects?
I got it.
There we go. But what?
Throughout this trial, we've assumed the killer held the battery in some form or another. If the battery was on its own, the killer tossed it in.
Yeah, they were trying to get a
If
double
the
kill.
battery was wrapped with a cord,
There's no way that they
killer
weren't.
held the other end of the cord. But in the same way something else can hold the battery, can't something else also hold the cord?
Ugh, my head's starting to spin.
Are you talking about something which could keep the cord in place?
Something to keep it in place. If I imagine the cord and the battery, it's tied around in front of the generator in the same spot where the shrapnel would surface. The vent. The camera. The camera. I think it's the camera. I really think it's the camera. Not the vent, which is totally the answer. but the camera.
Killer tied the cord to the vent.
What vent?
The one above the generator. It connects the boiler room and the dining hall.
There's a vent above the generator?
You should remember some light shining into the boiler room. That's where the vent is. The vent itself is set a bit far back into the wall. So, you probably assumed the spot was a small window or something.
If the boiler room and the dining hall are separated by one vent, does this make the wallpaper thin, or...?
There's two vents. The boiler room vent and the dining hall vent. Both are connected via a small ventilation shaft. I was able to get a close look at the boiler room vent after Ava and I woke up, which is why I know these details.
How close is close for someone under 6 foot?
Ava helped me reach the vent.
By?
Letting me sit on her shoulders.
Quite the visual.
Anyway, if the killer tied one end of the cord to the vent, and the other end around the battery, they could suspend the battery over the generator.
Like that would result in an explosion.
What do you mean?
You say the killer tied one end of the cord to the vent and the other end to the battery. However, indoor extension cords are much longer than regular cords. They can be upwards of 9 or more meters in length, as
Shush.
opposed to the average cord's
The
2
goat
meters.
is talking.
9 meters is significantly longer than the distance between the vent and the boiler room floor. If the killer wanted to tie the battery to the cord's other end, they would be tying it to something which is already submerged in water.
I see. It is an impossible setup.
Not necessarily. The killer can have greatly reduced the length of the cord by doing that. He's thinking. He's putting his thinking cap on. Of course it was the last option, bro. Of course it was the last option.
And where exactly did these scissors come from?
Could have been the storage closets.
Well, I've been through those closets.
Not even pliers?
I didn't see pliers.
You believe the
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because this spare cord is what the battery will be suspended by. So long as the spare cord isn't too long, the battery will sit safely above the water.
So much effort.
Agreed. How do you even submerge the battery into the water under those circumstances?
How? Simple. By adjusting the cord's position. All the killer would need to utilize is a certain aspect of the boiler room. I guess the generator? Oh, okay, so the vent.
This is it.
Like I mentioned earlier, I gave the vent a close look after originally waking up in the boiler room.
Alright. Now that I think that we're actually getting closer to what the answer is, I'm going to reveal my suspicion. So, here's the thing. From the moment the lithium bomb was mentioned, and the word chemicals, specifically the word chemicals, I immediately thought thought of science. And you know who said that, who dabbles in science? Eva. I don't want it to be Eva, but at this point, I mean, there's no other option, because if it can't be Diana, and it's not going to be any of the other goats like Desmond and Jet, the only other person it could be is Eva. And Eva's the only person at least smart enough to not only know how much cord to wrap around an object requires some insane math, but also to know that the lithium bomb would explode upon contact with the water, which not the average person would know. As for how John knows, don't worry about that. John's a different breed. But it has to be Eva, and I don't want it to be Eva. But it's better than Diane, so
Part of my inspection included opening the vent to get a better look at the other side.
The vent can be opened?
No shit.
Not all the way, but far enough for the vent to cause a domino effect if then closed. In our case, a domino effect involving the extension cord tied to it. If we assume the vent must be open for the battery to remain a safe distance above the water, we end up with a pulley system. To prevent the battery from entering the water, the vent is literally pulling the entire cord backwards. Ergo, it's not just the killer's own measurements keeping the battery in place, but the vent itself. Having opened one of these vents before, I can tell you how tough they are to move.
Wrapping my fingers around the grate directly in front of me, I pulled as hard as I could.
A lightweight battery definitely isn't heavy enough to pull one shut. It takes an actual person to close one, which is great for the killer, because it means they get to maintain full control over when the battery enters the water. If they close the vent, the cord should slide forward.
Control.
And
Think
the
about it.
battery into the water.
Eva said that she wants control. She said that the ultimate liar, persona was her feeling like it gave her control. See, you're not locked in like I am. The brain meats are working. The brain cells are multiplying. The cogs are turning. Y'all aren't picking it up like me, I swear.
When that happens, the boiler room water becomes electrified by the battery's components, which in turn causes electricity to pass directly into the body of Wolfgang, who is standing in the water.
But you know how dangerous having to do that is? Like, any slip up and you would have been gone, obliterated. Sounds like reaching. Never. Watch. I'm placing my bets right now. Watch. Just you wait. In the wise words of Hamilton, just you wait.
The boiler room vent.
Funny. Earlier, you said there's a small vent shaft connecting the boiler room vent to the dining hall vent. Assuming the killer is operating this trap from outside the boiler room, since we know there were only ever 2 people in that room, how would they even be able to reach the boiler room vent? Like you said, there's a separate vent in front of it.
She has a point. I've been assuming the cord is tied to the boiler room vent, but I failed to consider the ventilation shaft. It becomes considerably harder to reach the boiler room vent if you have to reach down the shaft first. Not just that, I never tested to see if the boiler room vent can open inwards. I only got it to open outwards. By that logic, a vent on the opposite side of the shaft.
This could only mean one thing. The killer never tied the cord to the boiler room vent. They tied the cord to the dining hall vent.
That just creates the same problem as before, but reversed. Instead of the dining hall vent making it hard to close the boiler room vent, it's the boiler room vent making it hard to reach the dining hall vent.
While the vents may seem like an obstruction, especially since they can't be opened all the way, there's a very easy workaround. All the killer needs to do is fit the extension cord between the grates of the boiler room vent.
Oh yeah, the grates. You mentioned something about them earlier. Right. When you described opening the boiler room vent.
Wrapping my fingers around the grate directly in front of me, I pulled as hard as I could.
If you can fit your fingers between the grates, there's no damn way you can't fit a cord.
Exactly. After which, you could slide the cord through the ventilation shaft and out the opposite end for the killer to then go and tie to the...
Actually...
Oh shit, I gotta lock in. Hold on. I was just about to read the chat. Now I gotta lock in. Hold on.
Hello?
What is it now?
There's something I still don't understand about your theory. It's to do with the logistics of the cord.
The logistics?
Its size.
Uh-huh. We're back to this again. Never mind, I'll find a way to combat this argument just like I've done countless times already. Okay! I don't remember the controls.
I understand the boiler room vent can be opened. Maybe not all the way, but enough to fit an extension cord through. What's bothering me, however, is that the boiler room vent was closed during the investigation, which means it must have been closed during the murder.
Shit.
I don't see a problem here. The killer doesn't even need to open that vent.
Actually.
Because they could simply slide the cord between the grates.
You guys are clowns. I love it.
Indoor extension cords may be thin, but the plugs on either side of them aren't.
Oh shit.
How can the killer fit both those plugs between the gaps in the vent grate?
Fuck.
Either the boiler room vent was never involved, or it was open at some point, and someone else closed it. That is my issue.
It's weird. Might have made sense if it weren't for one fatal flaw.
Indoor extension cords may be thin, but the plugs on either side of them aren't.
I just took a guess. I ain't finna lie. That was an entire guess.
If you insert the cord through the boiler room vent first, it's possible to fit the cord through. You just need to start with the internal plug. The cords in Storage Closet D have a slim internal end. This can easily be slid through the gaps in the vent. Once the killer ties the cord around the dining hall vent,
Actually, this your goat?
presumably with a
Yes,
knot,
it is my goat. What are you gonna do about it?
I see. When put like that, whether or not the boiler room vent was closed isn't really relevant.
How'd you figure all this out from some shrapnel and an extension cord? This is crazy.
At the same time, what he's describing sounds plausible.
Since the battery was suspended over the generator, it's no surprise the machine ended up the way it did. Fortunately for Diana, she was safe by virtue of remaining on the platform. I imagine that was also the killer's intention.
The killer kept her on the platform?
They must have known they were injecting Wolfgang with a hallucinogenic. So, it's possible they hoped his behavior would scare Diana off from entering the water. Although, even if Diana did die, the moment people realized only she and Wolfgang entered the boiler room, they probably called the whole thing a murder gone wrong.
Well, all of this certainly changes things.
Interesting.
If the killer is someone who needed access to the vent and needed to be operating from the dining hall, then everyone who attended the tournament is a suspect.
What?
No way!
One of the tournament attendees is the killer? Damn it! How did I not realize sooner? The fact the killer could even access the vent means they'd have to been in the dining hall at the time of the Wolfgang's murder.
We can reduce it down to 8 people.
It was probably Cassidy. She set the whole thing up.
Nah.
I was only trying to improve the mood.
My goat would never.
It wasn't me. I was playing a game with Damon when the lights went out.
It was him. Pack him up. Get him out of here.
Had to play music.
Mark would never.
Me too.
No, you did not. You lying son of a bitch.
You never touched my equipment.
I meant I was watching Kai and Damon play.
I was spectating as well.
You meant? Yeah, right. You was playing your Nintendogs on your Nintendo DS.
Me too.
Me 3. And Cass 2, I think? I was too focused on the game to remember who was or wasn't there.
If everyone's telling the truth, then all 8 of y'all were crowded round the same spot?
Near the right wall where the TV was set up. It's also the furthest wall from the vent.
Seems like someone is lying again.
The tournament participant who flipped the vent. I could deduce who that person is by determining everyone's positions directly before the blackout. So if I do the calculations correctly, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Therefore, the Pythagorean theorem is actually pi, because if you divide that... The problem is, I myself had been totally preoccupied with the game. I never got a good look at the actual people around me. Never got a good look. Wait, is that it? While I never got a good look at the others, I could still deduce their general positions and if they were near me. from whether or not I heard them. Think, Damon, think! Who and what did I hear back then? It was you. The only person I never heard was